Hello, Sacramento Rice High School. This is Mr. Johnson, going to be talking to you about miter saw 101, parts of the miter saw. Okay, parts of the miter saw. Notice we have a guard. We always want to keep our guards in place. As this machine is lowered, the guard is opened up so that the material can be cut by the machine. But we always want the guard covering any part of the blade that is not being concealed by the material that you're cutting. We also have a kerf board or a throat plate. We have a turntable lever right here and lock. When this is in the downwards position is locked. If you need to rotate the miter scale, the turntable, to something that you would like to cut a specified degree, you're going to rotate that to the degree that you want, lock it in place. After you've set your desired angle, you notice that most of the machines in the Woods Lab, not all of them, have a fence of some kind. Okay, so here's a fence. We always want to make sure that the piece of material that we're cutting is secured to the fence and the table. You always want it flat. If it's not, if there's a space between the fence and your piece of material, as the blade rotates in and down, it's going to push this piece of material into the fence very hard, very abruptly, which most often leads to a kickback, and you'll see the piece of material go flying up. Even more dangerous when you kick back on the miter saw is if you are holding the material but it's not up against the fence. When it throws that piece of material, you have no idea where your hand is going to go, and you do not want it to go into the blade, because like I said, more of the blade is being exposed as the miter saw is lowered. See that? So you got to be very, very careful. Okay. Now, this is a compound miter saw, which means we have the ability to loosen this knob right here. If we loosen this, this is a sliding compound miter saw. So now we can slide. So we slid this all the way to the front. So we're able to cut very wide material and then slide all the way back. Now, it's very important with the miter saw, if you're cutting a wide piece of material, you always want to pull forward, all the way down, and then keep it lowered and go all the way back. You never want to start halfway, cut the piece of material, pull forward, then go back. You always want to pull all the way forward, lower, all the way back. Now, another thing that's very important. If you're cutting smaller materials like this one right here, okay, you don't want it to slide, because you can see the space between the material and the blade. If I'm cutting, it'll catch that. It could catch that. You may be perfectly fine, but it's safer to make sure that you lock, push the blade all the way back, lock this knob again, the rail adjustment, lock it in place. That way, the blade's going to make perfect contact with the top of the material and cut all the way through it. Now, the switch for this machine is right here. Okay. You always want to make sure that you start this machine, let it get to full speed. After it's reached full speed, slowly lower the material, the blade into the material, and finish the cut. Do not do the ninja chop method, which is the blade barely reaches full speed and you just slam the blade into the material, because that could damage the machine, the blade, injure you or people around you. Okay. Now, I said this was a compound miter saw because you can actually change the bevel, the angle of the blade, this way as well as this way. So this can change on the miter scale to set degrees that you prefer to cut, and if you prefer to cut a compound bevel, you can actually change that with this also. So that's really cool. Alright, well, that is the miter saw 101.